You are listening to Detroit Craft Academy, episode number 7.
Detroit Craft Academy. Detroit Crafts with Jody. Detroit Craft Academy.
Heyo! Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Jody Lynn, and yeah, it's been 1 month, guys, officially, Detroit Craft Academy. Thank you for listening. If you've just tuning in, hi. I've actually committed to doing something that's not drawing, which is pretty right on, awesome. Wish that I could do that with my gym membership on a regular basis, but we'll see, one step at a time, right? I did that craft show last weekend. Oh, it's actually like a wedding indie craft show. That was fun. The Rock Sugar event. If anyone is looking for wedding stuff, it's a cool place to go. You can go to the website and see what vendors are there too, which is pretty awesome. I got to meet a whole bunch of really rad people. It was really cool doing a show that was so specific to a niche, like a specific niche, because I don't know, like you just kind of everyone knew what to expect or something. Yeah, I don't know. It was different. I liked it. It's getting my business brains going a little bit, thinking about different things to do. Trying to expand your business is like a weird thing. Hopefully we'll be diving into that at some point during the show. Maybe not this one, but in the not so distant future. So that was fun. I actually had to, it was fun because I had to make a fake wedding cake for my display. I was kind of freaking out, like, what am I going to do? So I made one out of plaster and foam. Never underestimate what you can find at Michael's Crafts. This is totally not a plug for them, but, dude, they had fake frosting there for, just everything. I ended up spending $70 on a fake cake, but I have one, I guess. So if I ever in need of a fake plaster cake, it wasn't too hard. It doesn't look like a very nice cake, but hey, I did it. This is very exciting for me. Not so very exciting for everyone else. But I finally decided to get rid of this desk chair that I have had forever. Because I draw a lot and my back has been hurting me a lot. And so I finally decided that I was going to get one of those exercise ball chair things. And holy crap, that's all I have to say. Like, not only is it fun as hell to bounce on, but it's, no more back pain. It's fun. So I'm talking to you guys on a bouncy ball. It's just kind of fun. Fun for me. Anyways, yeah. So, on today's episode, I talk with Kimberly White Jenkins. Kim is the owner of Helium Studios in Wayne, Michigan. And we talk about what running a shop is like and how Helium Studio came to be. I actually went to Kim's studio shop to do the interview, and you're going to hear storm in the background because it was that day in Michigan here. It was really rainy, and I know some people, rainy, stormy, some people are still out of power and internets and all those kinds of things. So I hope that if you're listening and you're in the Detroit area, you're keeping warm. Yeah, snow and such. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the episode. I'm going to stop rambling now. So, hi Kim, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi. Thanks, Jody.
Yeah. Okay. So, to start off, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Sure. Well, I am from Westland. Originally, I grew up in Dearborn, and I've lived in Dearborn and downtown Detroit for quite a while, and now we're here in Westland. And I went to school at Wayne State University. I have a couple degrees. I have a communication degree and a master's in library and information science degree.
Oh, wow.
Which kind of speaks to my the collector side of me, always wanting to get more information, discover more artists, and in terms of, and my husband and I make jewelry together, and we founded Helium Studio in November of 2015.
Huh. So how did you go from information sciences to running and owning Helium Studios and running an artist shop?
Well, the two, I should go back a little bit. So my first career job was as a high school teacher. I taught high school at Detroit Country Day from 89 to 97. I taught speech and debate and forensics and drama. And from there, I moved into nonprofit work, so totally changed my career and was doing event management, development events, so fundraising events for the Alzheimer's Association. And then I moved on to the Society of Manufacturing Engineers, where I did some board development. And then I moved on to Wayne State University, where my degrees are from, and worked for the Alumni Association. A lot of program management, membership marketing, event management. And from there, my career really has very little to do with my degrees. I ended up managing human resources programs at Masco Corporation, which is a huge global company. You might be familiar with it. It's a holding company for brands like Behr Paint, Delta Faucet, Milgard Windows, Craft-Made Cabinets, all home building and remodeling products. And I did leadership development programming there. And at the end of my tenure there, I was working with executives, doing executive development, and universities and consultants who would develop these programs for a target audience, and I would manage them, the execution of them. And we got a new CEO, and he promised the shareholders that he would cut the corporate office down to just what they needed. And so I was one of the roles that got eliminated in October of 2014. And so I looked for another job for a while, and things just weren't panning out. And this little used bookstore came to our attention on Facebook that it was available just about 1.5 miles from our house. And I even posted on Facebook, I said, someone should buy this bookstore. It's not that expensive, and it might be kind of fun. And a few months later, we ended up owning it. So in March of 2015, we closed on this building, and it had about 20,000 books in it. And we sold books for about 3 months. And then we converted it into an artist market by the following November. So the renovations took from about March to November of 2015. In the meantime, Dave and I had been making jewelry together, doing shows, selling at other shops, selling online, and we had met so many artists through all those different channels that we were able to open with a great group of 50 artists in November of 2015, and that's how we are where we are today.
Yeah. How did you get into making jewelry?
Well, I'd been making it on my own for a while. A lot of just kind of pure assembly work in the beginning, beads and wire and ear wires and things like that. And when Dave got involved, he started doing I had asked him to create some metal pieces for me, so some hammered metal that I could use as clasps or connectors, and he really got into it. And we love working with copper, and so everything that's heat treated, soldered, riveted, folded, that starts with Dave. He makes all the rings and the bangles, and then he pickles it, hands it over to me, and then I make it into, a lot of times I'll liver of sulfur, give it a little distressing, some patina, and then it's on the floor ready to go or made into a necklace or a bracelet.
And what is your jewelry company name?
It's called Helium Studio. So Helium Studio is our jewelry brand. It's also our brick and mortar brand. And then we have a line of clothing called Helium Studio Gear. We have T-shirts and right now a crossbody bag and a piece of jewelry and a beanie. And that gear is all meant to be inspirational. A lot of people ask us, what does helium mean in Helium Studio? And we want to be an uplift to the community. We want the goods that we carry to be uplifting. And we want to be an uplift to our artists, too. One of our favorite things is to help artists who are just starting to maybe commercialize and work with them on getting started that way. So yeah, our jewelry brand carries over to the brick and mortar and also our clothing.
So, so far, you guys have been open for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the biggest challenge that you've had opening the store?
Well, one of the challenges that we have here, and we've been able to overcome it pretty consistently, is we're kind of pioneering in this location. We're in kind of a weird spot. Georgia Kovanis of the Free Press covered us in January of 2016, and she made a comment that she was kind of embarrassed that, she said this in her article, that she had never had a reason to go to Wayne before. She didn't really know what was in Wayne. And we have a lot of small businesses here. 50 years ago, we looked like a much different small town. A lot more historic buildings that the windows hadn't been bricked over or modifications made so they didn't look historic anymore. But we still have a lot of historic buildings and a lot of opportunities for businesses to come in. On our block alone, we've got 3 storefronts available. Across the street, there's 2-3 storefronts. So the biggest challenge has been, I think, getting people to understand why we're here, as opposed to Plymouth or Ann Arbor or Royal Oak. And people make comments like, I feel like I'm in Northville, or I feel like I'm in, and we said, that's exactly how we want you to feel. And we feel like our success should motivate 2-3 other businesses to come in these few blocks. And we are part of downtown Wayne, Main Street community, and Main Street is a state initiated organization. There's also a national, but it's volunteer driven for the most part. We have 1 paid staff person, but we had many volunteers whose priority is to plan events and communications and promotions to bring people to Wayne and to retain the businesses that we have in Wayne. So Main Street has been really helpful in planning events that we can hook into, as well as the city of Wayne, and we're very close to it's called Gowdy Park,
Okay.
and the Rouge River runs through it, and you can take your canoe and drop your canoe right into the Rouge from here. And we have a really active Rouge paddlers group that goes out on the Rouge in this area pretty consistently and moves the log jams and things like that. So there's a lot of cool small town stuff happening here, and I think people see Wayne as kind of a town of maybe used car lots, and we have the Ford assembly plant, but they don't see us as the small town walkable area for shopping and eating. But that's our goal, is to stay here and work with our Downtown Development Authority, work with Main Street, work with vacant property owners to help them maybe be a little more flexible on rents and the possibilities of getting someone in there that could occupy your property as opposed to it being vacant. It's good for the whole community. So that's been our biggest challenge, is we're in kind of a weird spot. But it has not hurt our business. We have a lot of loyal folks who come from all over.
From doing the market of craft shows, have you seen, because I know, because like Wayne is kind of a weird spot, like just maybe like the type of people that would go to craft shows, have you seen that like change of people that come in the shop at all? Like, have you seen maybe maybe like the type of shopper, because I feel like shoppers' ideas about what they want to buy is slowly changing into like mass market to handmade.
Yeah, I agree. And we have a lot of artists who are still doing a lot of shows, and so when people who do like the Northville, or who attend and buy at the Northville Handcrafters show, well, a lot of our artists also do that show. So they come in and they say, oh, you've got Katie Did's Critters, or you've got Rezip It, you've got the Zipper Lady, you have Snarky But Joyful. We have a lot of brands and a lot of merchandise, handmade, that are made by people who do those shows, who do those circuits consistently. And so I definitely see a connection.
Yeah.
And people love handmade. And some people might say that now there's too many shows The shows are kind of saturated.
Yeah.
So many options for shoppers that the shows that used to have a really good following, now it's kind of diluted a little bit because on any given weekend, maybe you could go to 3 or 4 places. Not to mention a flea somewhere,
It's
or
true.
a handmade market at a barn somewhere. I mean, but the cool thing is, I think those are all opportunities for the market to just grow even bigger. Those people who love farmhouse and handmade, I think they will continue to spend if they like what you have.
Yeah.
And so, another challenge I'd say is just curating the collection. We have a lot of makers who come to us now and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
would you be interested in? I want to consign my pieces to you." And it's a little higher wall now that you have to scale in order to get in here because we have a larger variety, and we're more selective. We know our customer now, and so we want to bring in what those customers want.
What do you look for in vendors before you would take on a vendor? Do you have like specific guidelines?
We do have an application process, and what I like to see is that somebody has experience already selling. No matter what that is, whether it's craft shows or whether it's an online shop, because that person understands merchandising, which is really important for a brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
Might not be as important if you have an online business, but at the same time, when that person opens your package at home, you want to make sure they're just delighted with what they find. So, your tags and your business card, and do you show your ingredients? And do you show the weight of things? Like all that information that a customer might want to know, are you providing that? And because in the world of crafts, and I like crafts with a small c, there can be a low barrier to entry in areas like jewelry, for example. In areas like a lot of people, like the wood signs, and a lot of people are starting to do that because they have a lot of that stuff at home. They can find wood pallets on the side of the road or whatever.
Yeah.
But what differentiates all those people, in my mind, is quality. And the hardest thing for me sometimes is to say no to somebody, but I try to turn that into, let's talk about, it's kind of like The Voice, like come back in 6 months after you've worked on these things and we can probably talk again.
Yeah.
And sometimes that becomes a conversation over the long term. I've had people come in and say, hey, I'd like to sell my X, or I've been doing this, I'm not sure what direction I want to go in. Those conversations are sometimes the most difficult because they're not really sure what they're good at yet. And so I don't mind talking to those people, but they're not ready to sell yet.
Yeah.
They might not even be ready to produce in the quantities that they need to be in a store and be able to refresh periodically. But quality, merchandising experience, those are two things that I look for sure. And then, other things, I want to make sure we don't already have it. I don't want my artists competing against each other within my shop.
Yeah.
To the extent that I can avoid that.
So you've worked with people before. Do you teach classes at Helium?
We do. Right now we're kind of retooling our class schedule. So we have one class that happens every month. It's taught by an artist, Michelle Guernsey. She does a glass mosaic class, and that's been so popular that we offer it every month. We've taught jewelry classes, drawing classes. I've only taught once, and for the most part, other artists have taught all the other classes. But we're still trying to crack the nut on that. And we have a small classroom. It holds about 10 to 12 people comfortably, depending on what you're making. And so we're thinking about going more the private party route. So these are things that your party guests could make. These are the kinds of classes we could do. And you need to have at least X many people and no more than this many, and then choose your class. We may be going that route. But I'm working with another artist in Garden City. Her name's Charlotte Lowry. She's a photographer, and she has a big maker space behind her photography studio, and she teaches classes. So, and hers are wood sign making type classes. So we're working together, combining wood and metal to create some class offerings that we could teach together or separately at her place or my place. So that's kind of, so classes are kind of in flux right now.
It's really cool that you can offer services as well as products in your shop as well. I think offering multiple things with any business is a really awesome thing to be able to do.
And we've done private parties. So for example, one night this month, we'll have the Wayne Literary Guild come here, and we're going to make book reading journals. And they've got about 20-some people, so we're going to do some rearranging of the shop so they can eat and make their book journals. But that's kind of a one-off event, and those are the kinds of things that we'd like to see happen going forward.
Oh, very cool. Do you have any advice for anyone listening that is thinking about maybe approaching a store? Like, what is maybe some etiquette for approaching a store owner?
Sure. So I think having a line sheet and that can be, so it doesn't have to be a full-blown catalog, but maybe it's your Etsy shop, maybe it's a Shopify page that you create to just kind of be your line sheet, but you need to have a professional way of presenting your work. Even if it's, here's my Flickr site, but there's got to be a way for the shop owner to evaluate your work before we ask you to come in and bring it in for reals.
Yeah, or not just sending a couple photos in an email.
Exactly. And so to get there, you can take classes in photographing your jewelry, for example, and you can watch YouTube videos. I mean, you can find this stuff out for free virtually and buy a light box or make a light box out of tissue paper and an old cardboard box. But whatever you can do to represent your work in the most professional way so that the shop owner doesn't have to guess about the quality. Like, there's kind of a shadow there. I don't know. Is that part of the piece? Is it just a shadow? So we need to be able to do some evaluation before we have you come in. And if you don't pass that gate of being invited to come in with your work, it's probably that we can't really tell what you'll be bringing in. We can't tell if that's something a customer would want. But I always give that feedback to people, and I would encourage if a shop owner just says, no thank you, that you say, can you give me some feedback on how I presented myself? And they should be very free with that, I would think, and honest.
Yeah. Unless they're super way super busy.
Yeah, I guess so. But if you give them some time. And
yeah, that's true.
I have some, and I don't know what your experience has been with that, in terms of how shop owners give you feedback or how you present yourself.
Like every once in a while I'll like send some stuff out and, you just don't get a response back, and that's kind of okay. But then I get I might get an email 6 months later. I'm so sorry, I've just been so busy.
I have to admit, I have emails in my inbox that I mean to respond to, and the lower down they get, it might be worth sending a reminder to me. But another thing now it just left my head in terms of another. Oh, well, there is, for example, Etsy offers some classes at Schoolcraft College that are free.
Really?
You do have to apply, but a couple people I know are in the classes right now, and I think it's 6 or 8 weeks long. You have to not already have an Etsy shop, so you have to be brand new. And they teach you everything from pricing to photographs to deciding what products to offer. And it's no charge. And I think it's on a running calendar. So I think there's a couple weeks left of the current class, and then they're offering another one. But if you look up the Small Business Development Association, Greater Detroit or something like that, or go to Schoolcraft in Livonia's adult ed section, you'll find it. So that would be a good start for anyone who thinks they want to start selling but don't know where to start.
Yeah, that's really cool. I had no idea that Etsy was even teaching classes in the Detroit area. So what has been the most rewarding part of running your shop?
My husband laughs at me, but the I love writing the checks to artists. I mean, the most rewarding part is to be able to support someone who is probably putting food on the table with their art. And I love knowing the story behind what people are making, and I love telling the story to customers when they pick up, a wood bowl with a natural edge, and I'm able to tell them how it was made and what kind of wood it is, or that, the Woodward Throwbacks guys ride around on their bikes and get wood from illegal dump sites. And I love telling the stories, and I love helping other artists make a living. That's really been the most rewarding. I wouldn't say it's much about selling our jewelry as much as just being able to offer this collection that we're offering to our customers and helping those artists.
Yeah, it's got to be like really fun. Well, just because like you've gotten to meet so many people like at different art shows,
Right.
And I know how that is. I just I talk everyone's ear off. I love to hear that's why I'm doing this podcast, is because I love to hear stories about people. But just being able to know people's stories and then telling them to other people too, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. So are all the artists that you have from Michigan?
Just about all of them. We picked up some different ways. So, for example, I met the Prather team at one of the DI Ipsy shows. They're from Ohio, but I met them here in Michigan, and we were getting into selling air plants and air plant holders, and they had these really cool ones, and then they had these graphic paintings that they painted on salvaged wood, and so we picked them up. I think they had the right feel for our shop, and so sometimes we'll meet someone and there's just this click, and I think we want them in here.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'd say 98% are from Michigan.
Mm-hmm. And how many different artists do you have in the shop?
We have more than 120 now. So some are just seasonal. So if we count those, we're at 125 or so. But we started with 50, so we've grown quite a bit since November of 15.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited to have seen the shop grow this big. I can't wait to walk around. Okay, so if you could go back in time and give yourself any advice, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, I'd say learning to say no. In the beginning, when we were trying to grow our lines, we were not saying no maybe as much. So meaning that those artists maybe were not the right fit for us. Not that they weren't the right quality, but maybe we're not the right fit for our customers. But you have this, you want to keep the momentum going, and so you don't want to be so selective that you think, well, we're not offering enough new things every day. So I think we've gotten to a point where I'm saying no or not now.
Yeah.
At the right kind of at the right pace, whereas before maybe we were a little too inclusive. So it's hard to tell an artist, I don't think things are working, so let's pause on our relationship. So that's always hard. So maybe that's kind of what I was avoiding. I didn't want to have that conversation, but it's gotten easier. Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you have to break up, and the thing is, it's good for both of you. I mean, we don't want to carry someone's pieces and have them not available for that artist to sell somewhere else. And so it's it's not good for both of us if we do that. So and
sometimes a product sits for so long it starts looking not so
right
hot on the shelf. Okay, so I ask this question to everyone that does craft shows, and since you've done craft shows and you have a shop, I'm going to ask you both.
Okay.
What is the weirdest thing that anyone has ever said to you at a craft show, and what is the weirdest thing that anyone has ever said to you coming into the shop?
Weirdest? Oh, shoot. Now this is one I could have taken some more time to think about. I don't know that, we've all heard about the shopper who kind of believes that they understand the process of creating that this artist has done, and so they talk to their buddy about how they could make it at home. And I don't even intervene in those conversations anymore, because in the end, I know I've tried that myself, where I say, I think I could probably do that. And I can't, because you have to buy 5 feet of something, or if you have to buy 5 pounds of something, or
Yeah.
you're not going to do that. So I mean, maybe that's weird, to think that you could do, to the level of quality with the same materials, and quickly enough that you could make enough of them that you could have enough of a quantity to sell them. Maybe you could do it as a gift for someone, but really it's not going to be better than what you're seeing in front of you, because this person is an experienced maker. In terms of, I mean, I don't know. I guess we get questions sometimes about, a lot of people like to buy polished crystals like quartz and things like that, and so people make comments about the powers of our crystals and things, and that's not something we really ascribe to. So I say, you know what? I don't really know. I said, but I'm sure you could look it up. But ours don't come with any magical powers that I'm aware of. So, I mean, I tried to say it because I don't want to offend anyone. But
no, it's I think the whole like woo woo thing is very popular these days, and I don't get it.
All right, so explain that to me.
Like, it's like people believe in like the power of crystals or just like moon cycles, and like they do little ceremonies and chants and stuff. Like it's like how yoga is getting really popular.
Yeah.
Or how it's like, I don't know. To me, I feel like they've taken another culture and completely commercialized it. And now, like, everyone wants to do it because it's been marketed so well. I mean, there are health benefits, but it's like...
And those things will cycle on and off.
Yeah.
They'll cycle on and off, but...
Yeah. And I mean, that even happens just, like, in, like, themes of things that people are making, too. And I'm sure over the past 2 years, you've seen themes come and go in what people are making. Mm-hmm. Are there any current trends that you see right now?
Well... Obviously, with the popularity of all these flea markets where people are recycling and upcycling and taking old farm implements and, changing them into furniture or whatever, I mean, that we are, we don't have a whole lot of room for two-dimensional art, but we do have wood signage, and I mean, actually, we're going to take in another person who makes wood signs, too. But that has become... really popular, that material. Theme-wise, the inspirational quotes, I mean, you'd almost be crazy not to get on the wagon with that. Just recognizing that it probably will cycle out.
Yeah.
But people are using those for decorating. I mean, you're seeing them in Hobby Lobby, you're seeing them at Michael's, you're seeing them everywhere. And so if there's a way, without kind of compromising what you're about, to get on that trend, I say hop on, and just kind of know that, like with any other trend, it's going to cycle up and down. We went to the Buy Michigan Now show last summer in Northville, and what we saw the most of was wood signs.
Really?
T-shirts, and then the food. I'd say like those were the three categories, and it kind of just goes to show, and I don't think that food has low barrier to entry, but I think wood signs have a low barrier to entry. I think that...
And when wood signs, are you like meaning like hand-lettered,
like the palette wood signs,
ones?
right, exactly. Okay. Or stenciled, they're not all hand-lettered.
Yeah.
Some of them are stenciled. And T-shirts is there's a low barrier to entry to that as well. Michigan and Detroit themed gifts here sell really well.
Yeah.
And so... you could start a Michigan T-shirt business pretty easily. Now, I say that, but I also want to mention you still have to sell those shirts.
Yes.
So you could make 10 dozen Michigan T-shirts very easily.
Doesn't mean they're going to sell.
Right. You still have to market yourself.
Yeah.
So you could get into Etsy wholesale or handmade at Amazon, but you still have to sell yourself because you're competing with thousands. Everyone complained about how Etsy retail, you get lost in there, and then unless you already have a following, or you heavily market yourself, that, especially in jewelry, that's hard to be noticed. But now
Yeah.
people are saying that about Etsy wholesale too.
Yeah,
It's
well,
all
I
going to get
always,
saturated.
yeah, I get people that approach me a lot. A while ago, I was interviewed by Etsy for an article about like what are what are your suggestions for selling on Etsy, and I was talking about being patient, and like I said a whole bunch of other stuff, but one of them was be patient because it was like took 2 years before I even sold one thing on Etsy. But I think people think that if they put their things on Etsy, automatically they're going to be getting sales. Etsy is just a tool to use for your sales. Like just because if you put stuff up on there, how is anyone going to find it? It's just like putting a website on the internet and not ever like giving a link to anyone. Like there's a likelihood that somebody could find you on there, but it's very small.
Right. So it's the same whether you're on Shopify, you build your own website. It doesn't matter if it's Etsy. The rules are still the same. You have to market yourself. You have to get your website out there. It needs to be on your card and in your emails, and you have to do email marketing maybe, and all these other ways of promotion at shows, and people aren't just going to come to you. Even if your quality is fantastic, there's a lot of people with fantastic quality out there that because of an algorithm, you're going to be fifth in line and you're not going to be discovered. And so, that's why people, sell in a lot of different channels. You can't just sell online. You have to sell at shows. You have to hustle. And the show lifestyle is one that we never really got into outdoor shows because that was a gate we didn't want to hop because it's hard. It's a whole different animal. Your displays, and then you have to do it enough times to make that investment worthwhile. And we knew we wouldn't do that. So we mostly did indoor shows. And but if you're first starting out, you got to try everything. Yeah, you probably have to try everything, and you need to get in shops as well. And that means, sometimes you're not going to be. You've got to do it on consignment because a lot of shops, ourselves included, that's how we start out with new artists. If you aspire to sell wholesale, that's probably not how we're going to start our relationship with you because we still got to know, is it something our customers want? Is it something that will sell? Yeah, because you don't want products sitting around forever, too. Right.
So to all the makers out there, is there anything that you want artists to know about your shop?
We're always open to reviewing new artists. So if anyone is interested in getting into a shop on our side of town, we're right in the middle of Ann Arbor and Detroit, if you're not familiar with where Wayne is. And there really isn't a lot of handmade in this area. And so we're close to Canton, we're close to Westland, we're close to Garden City. And we have a really excellent following. So check out our Facebook page, our Instagram, and come to the shop. If you're an artist and you're interested in consigning, come here first and kind of get a feel for who we are, what we offer. And then see, if you're a woodworker, we have some woodworkers, so see what we already have. I think that's always a really important thing for artists to check out shops prior to sending emails. Oh, this is a handmade shop. I'm just going to... Yeah, that was something that that I wanted to mention earlier when you said advice for artists is check out the shop first and visit with no agenda. So don't visit with, and maybe there's no customers, so I'm going to show you my phone and all the photos of my work. Sometimes it doesn't work very well. And that happens sometimes, so I have to say, you know what, we have a process, and we might be interested, but let's start with step one, and then that's when I ask them for their email and I send them our packet. But come in without an agenda and just, I love chatting with people, so come in and chat and ask me about our stuff and what we're looking for in new artists, and that goes a long way.
So I have 2 questions that I add to the end of it. What's your favorite book that you're reading or of all time?
I'm going to tell you a book that I read recently,
Mm-hmm.
which is a fiction book. It's called The Goldfinch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was recommended to me by my old high school debate partner, who's now director of law libraries at Boston University, and he had read this book. He reads a lot, but he was on Facebook, and he said, "Oh, this book was just so explosive and amazing," and it was awesome. It's the story of a young kid who, eventually gets involved in drugs and intrigue and money, and ends up in Vegas. And it starts out kind of slow, but ends up the ending is definitely worth waiting for. And I'm sure I've got a few others, but I'd say The Goldfinch. Put it on your list. Yeah.
Cool.
Fiction, no brainer type book.
Those are always good to have.
Mhm.
And then, what's your favorite album right now?
Let's see. So I listen to Pandora stations every day at the shop. So how about if I cheat and say my favorite Pandora station is the Wanda Jackson station? So
That's perfect.
Yeah. I love Wanda Jackson, and it's just interesting to choose kind of a fringy musician like that to see, okay, what does Pandora come up with that's like Wanda Jackson? And they do a pretty good job. They do a pretty good job of mixing it up. So
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love her.
I like her too. Yeah.
And that concludes episode number 7. I hope that you've enjoyed this week's episode. If you'd like to find out more about Kim and her shop, head on over to DetroitCraftAcademy.com, where you can find photos of her shop and links to Helium Studio. If you like what you were hearing, show your support by giving the show a review. You can do so on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. And you can always drop me a line at DetroitCraftAcademy.com and let me know what you think. And until next week, keep crafting your dreams.
Detroit Crafts with Joe D. Detroit Craft Academy.